Hi, I'm Jim Call, Chief Communication Officer here at the University of Southern Mississippi. For 110 years now, the Southern Miss story has been written by ordinary individuals who have gone on and accomplished extraordinary things. And no one exemplifies this more than Miss Oseola McCarty. Miss McCarty grew up in Hattiesburg, washed and ironed clothes for a living, and then in 1995 donated her life savings to the university, all for the benefit of Southern Miss students to give them opportunities that she was not afforded. Thank you for joining us today as we celebrate the 25th anniversary of her gift to the university. We're going to talk with people who she's inspired. We're going to talk to people who she knew well. And we're going to talk to some Southern Miss students who are benefiting from her generosity even today. And finally, we're going to unveil a timeless addition to the Hattiesburg campus that you're not going to want to miss. Well, good morning, Dr. Bennett. How are you?
I'm good, Jim. Good morning to you.
And thank you for being here with us today.
I'm really happy to be with you, and thank you for the opportunity to talk a little bit about the university.
And so we're going to have some questions about Miss Oseola McCarty. But first, I want to ask, how's the university doing? How are you doing?
Well, I wish that we were not in the middle of a global pandemic, just to be quite frank about it. But all things considered, I could not imagine the University of Southern Mississippi being any better positioned to have handled and really begin the process of coming through, as it were, a global pandemic. Our faculty, our staff, our students, our alumni, the communities that we are represented in, our host cities, both in Hattiesburg and along the Mississippi Gulf Coast, are really, sort of helping us to continue to accomplish our goal of educating young people across the state of Mississippi and beyond. Alumni and friends of the university are really the backbone and the lifeline for the institution to accomplish its goals in many ways.
And so what does it mean for students when alumni give?
I think it gives our students an opportunity to see themselves in a similar light, and especially for those students who may not have a background or family or friends or people that they know who've ever gone to college, number one, or maybe don't have people in their family who have reached a level of success that they aspire to for themselves. Well, I think the gift that Ms. McCarty gave to the university is certainly a remarkable, transformative gift. I mean, there's no denying the impact that had on our university then, and that it continues to have to this very day. But beyond the gift, what continues to be remarkable is that it demonstrated to so many individuals that no matter who you are in life, no matter what position that you have in your community, that if you have a philanthropic heart, that if you are a person who loves individuals, wants to see things improve and get better, that you want to provide opportunities for young people and the next generation, that you have the ability to do that. So the financial contribution is significant, but I really celebrate the leadership and the vision and the opportunity that her commitment gave to so many other Oseola McCartys who can see themselves at a place like USM with whatever means they have, being able to make a difference and have an impact. She said to us that every person, regardless of your status in life or your status in your community, has an opportunity to contribute and make a significant difference in the lives of young people at a university. And then once you've accomplished your goals, whatever those might be, is to see yourself as a Ms. McCarty and to provide a way forward for so many people who could benefit from your generosity and your philanthropy and your love of people and your desire to see things better.
Well, thank you, Dr. Bennett, for taking the time to talk with us today and for sharing a little bit about what her gift meant to the university and its students. Before the university learned of Miss McCarty's gift, Miss McCarty met with local attorney Jimmy Frank McKenzie and Paul Lawson of Trustmark Bank. Having washed laundry for Mr. McKenzie over the years, he trusted him to help her get her estate plans in order. He brought Paul into the conversation to find a simple way to explain the process. Now, I had the opportunity to speak with Paul and learn more.
as I was helping her with her just very general estate planning, I asked her what she wanted to happen to the money when she died. And she said she wanted the most of it to go out to the university, but then we talked about other things, her family relationships and bills she needed to have paid, that kind of thing. And in the course of discussing how she wanted her assets distributed at the time of her death, it became clear that she was not sure. And when we started talking about percentages, it was pretty clear that she wasn't sure how to apply the concept of percentages. Of course, she had only an elementary school education, and I have no idea what they covered at that time. But Mr. McKenzie said, well, you decide how he left the office and told Miss McCarty to decide how she wanted to divide her estate at the time of her death. And she and I stayed around and visited for a little bit, and I had an idea. I ran down to the teller line and I got 10 dimes, and I brought them up to my office and put them on my desk, and I took some index cards and I wrote the name of the 3 individual cousins that she wanted to leave some to. And I wrote the name of her church. She wanted to leave something to her church. And I wrote the name of the University of Southern Mississippi on those 5 cards. And what I said was, don't worry about your entire estate. Don't worry about all these CDs, all the real property, the house and an empty lot out on Lincoln Road. I said, just worry about $1. I've got 10 dimes here. That's $1 broken up. And I said, you put the dimes on the card where you want it to go, and you decide how you want to treat this $1, and we'll treat all of your dollars the same way. And so she picked up 1 dime, and I think it's remarkable that she put that first dime on her church, Friendship Baptist Church. And then she picked up another dime, 3 more dimes, and put it on each of the 3 relatives. And then she said, my arthritis won't let me pick up the rest of those dimes, but if you'll put the rest of those dimes on the college out there. So I did. I put 6 dimes on the USM card, and I told her, I said, now I can go get nickels and pennies if you want to divide it further. And she said, no, that's the way I want to do it.
It's been 25 years now. What do you think she would say, knowing how many students she's now helped, how many other people have been inspired by her gift to also give in the same way?
I know that initially she would have been absolutely floored.
Did you ever have any idea you
No,
had this
ma'am.
kind of thing?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. If anybody told me all this would have happened, I wouldn't have believed.
Once her planned gift was announced, a number of community people here in Hattiesburg, and then people from all over the country later chipped in. But they went ahead and through the foundation set up an endowment in Miss McCarty's honor. So it was funded with $150,000 or so just within a few weeks, months of the time that her planned gift was made public. And therefore her gift and the gift of those people who were honoring her combined, that would go on forever and ever in perpetuity. So as she began to internalize that, that's when I think she began to realize the true significance of what she had done, instead of it just being a short-term thing that might pay the tuition for a few people for a few years. She later realized that it could have an ongoing effect on a lot of students, and she was excited about that.
Well, I tell you, it makes me feel proud of myself. It do. It really do.
I know that I heard her talk about $1 million several times. I started to say so many times, but 4 or 5 times she talked about it. Boy, it'd sure be wonderful if I could get it to $1 million.
What do you remember most about Miss McCarty?
I was telling a few of my friends the other day, more than anybody else, she educated me. She surprised me. the way she did not live life and approach life like I do and most of the people that I know. Because she did live very, very modestly. She lived in that little house. She worked 6 days a week from sunrise to way past sunset until she had to retire because of her arthritis. She really had a knack for living simply.
What would you say to a Southern Miss student that is benefiting from her generosity today?
Well, I'd tell them all this and tell them how fortunate they are to, I think somebody once said, if I've seen further than other people, it's because I stood upon the shoulders of giants. And I would hope that they would recognize that they're standing on her shoulders, even though she was hardly a giant. She was a tiny little person, but in a real sense, she was a giant. Her tombstone says, I only wish I had more to give. And I think that's a good legacy for her and for anybody to just put things in perspective.
Well, thank you so much, Paul, for taking the time to talk today.
My pleasure.
Enjoyed listening to your memories of Miss Oseola McCarty, and thank you again.
You're very welcome. Take care. Bye-bye.
It was some of the most heartwarming news I think that I have ever heard. I was just touched.
Well, Dr. Lucas, thank you for taking the time to talk with me today.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And so we're going to talk a little bit about Miss Oseola McCarty, one of my favorite Southern Miss stories that there is.
Yes.
And so tell me a little bit about
Yes.
when you first learned about Miss Oseola McCarty.
Well, I had a call. I was in the office, president's office then, and Bill Pace called and said that he had had a call from an attorney in Hattiesburg, and the attorney wanted to know the legal name of the foundation and the address and everything that he would need to prepare a gift to the university, and he could not tell us anything about it. Couldn't tell us who it was. So Bill called and, oh my goodness, you can imagine what we were doing and thinking, trying to find out who it was, but we didn't. Well, anyhow, eventually we learned. And so we invited her over to the president's home for lunch, just a few of us. And we just had a delightful time. Miss McCarty just started opening up. Of course, I had questions, you know. And she told us a story about how she did not get to finish school because she had to go home. Her aunt became ill, and so she went home to help the family with their business, which was laundering. And so I said, well, how did you accumulate? You know, how did you go about it? And she said, well, the first of every month, I went to Mr. So-and-so's bank and I put some money in. And then I went to Mr. So-and-so's bank and I put some money in. And then I went to Mr. So-and-so's bank and I put some money in. And I never took any out because I knew it would be there if I needed it. One day I was telling that story, and one of the students asked me, he said, well, Dr. Lucas, why would she go to 3 banks? I said, well, you have to remember, she was doing the laundry for each of those families. And so she believed in doing business with those who did business with her. But I said, also, there's another factor. She lived during the Depression of the 30s. And she remembers how banks failed, and some banks didn't. And so she was smart. She was just distributing her assets around to 3 different banks. Miss McCarty would not fly. So, whichever group was inviting her made arrangements for her to have a private railroad car, passenger car, to go from Hattiesburg to New York. Then she was given the gold medal from UNESCO, which is a part of the United Nations. It's an international thing, and she was chosen to receive this medal. And I think it was to be done in Paris. And so Bill said, Miss McCarty won't go, but our president will go. And so the man says, no, we will come to her. And so they came to the country club, rented the club, and had a dinner for Miss McCarty there and gave her that medal. Then we were so happy to learn that Harvard had decided to give her an honorary doctorate. And she went to the commencement and wore cap and gown and received that honorary doctorate. And so it was just one wonderful and happy event after the other. Oh, I can remember also the first and perhaps only football game she attended. And of course, people were excited about it. And when she went out on the field, there was just this rousing ovation. Everyone was on his or her feet and welcoming her. And she, I'm sure, was bewildered by all of that attention. But it was so wonderful to see her respond to the first student to receive a scholarship in her name.
So it's been 25 years since her gift.
Yes.
How do you hope that she will be remembered 25, 50, 100 years from now?
I feel confident that a story this rich won't die.
So complete this sentence for me. Oseola McCarty is?
One of the most interesting people I've ever known. And perhaps one of the best examples I've ever seen of philanthropy.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Lucas, for taking the time to talk with me today.
I enjoyed it.
Those are some wonderful stories about a wonderful woman.
Yes. Well, thank you for having me.
As of today, more than 100 students have benefited from the Oseola McCarty Scholarship. But Stephanie Boyd Ferguson was one of the first. Hearing her memories of the friendships with Ms. McCarty and the gratitude she still feels after all these years is heartwarming. If you've got a tissue handy, go ahead and grab it.
Well, good afternoon, Stephanie. It's so nice to meet you. Thank you so very much for taking the time to talk with us today. As you know, Miss Oseola's story is one of the greatest stories of this university and really in this country. And you were the first scholarship recipient from Miss Oseola, resulting from Miss Oseola's gift. So I'm hoping you could just talk a little bit about your memories of Miss Oseola and what that scholarship meant to you. So I guess first off, just tell me about maybe the first time you met Miss Oseola.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for this opportunity. It's just been always extremely important to me to be able to do anything I can to keep Miss Ola's memory alive and to represent her legacy as best I can. The first time I met Miss Ola was in Hattiesburg, and it was when it was like the formal presentation of the scholarship gift, and she's a very petite little lady. I'm 5 feet tall, and I may have been an inch or two taller, and she had a very little voice, but she had the biggest smile, and she was so welcoming. She instantly became family.
And when you were awarded the scholarship, what was that moment like?
When I found out about it, I was just totally amazed that somebody would work that hard to save that much money and then turn around and give it away.
It's certainly my pleasure, Stephanie, to see you receive notification of this first scholarship.
This is just a blessing from God, and I'm just so grateful.
Oh, it was unbelievable. It was absolutely unbelievable, because I remember we were reading it in the paper, the Hattiesburg American. My mom was reading about the gift, and she was like, "Oh wow, that is so wonderful." And at the time, we were looking for scholarship money. My mom is also a graduate of USM Graduate School, and she remembered how hard it was to pay off her student loans.
My mom's an educator, so I've always known that the value of an education is really, really important. But then again, I've often taken it for granted. But now it's more like, okay, I have an opportunity that not everybody has had. I'm going to make the best of it. I'm going to do the best that I can.
I had no idea I was even being considered or anything. And it was, I mean, nothing short of a miracle. It was life-changing. It was life-changing.
What was your fondest memory of Oseola McCarty?
It was just that through everything, she was always comfortable where she was, and even with everything that happened, she came out of her shell. She was timid. She had a very little voice, but she had strong opinions, you know. And she learned to speak up, and I learned to speak up right along with her.
You mentioned as a scholarship recipient the importance of carrying on her legacy. What is her legacy to you?
Her legacy to me, to one, is to think of others before I think of myself, and most certainly hard work. Her work ethic. I just want to be able to continue to match her work ethic, and to show that if you go all in and you just give your best, that you can bless other people and you can touch other people in ways that you never imagined.
If you're talking to a Southern Miss student today, what would you most want them to know about Oseola McCarty?
She expects you to go to class. Her idea for giving a gift, she often said, is that she felt like adults would mess it up. And she wanted to invest in children. She wanted us to take advantage of opportunities that she didn't have. So I would tell a student to not take their education lightly. I don't know if it ever dawned on her that her name would be on a building, that her scholarship fund would continue to bless people, but she finished strong. She finished her life in a way. She lived so much more in those last years than she ever thought that she was going to do. And every shirt she washed, you know, every pair of pants she pressed, it all led up to those final years where she touched the world.
Well, Stephanie, I want to thank you sincerely for taking the time to speak with me today, and for the way that you carry forth Oseola McCarty's legacy, and certainly do appreciate that, and appreciate your love and passion for Southern Miss as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you to the top.
Jewel Tucker may have been closer to Miss McCarty than any other member of the Southern Miss family. They shared countless experiences over thousands of miles on a whirlwind tour celebrating Miss McCarty. We could listen for hours as she shared all of her treasured memories.
take me back 25 years and remind me what you were doing for the university and how you came to know Miss McCarty.
Let's see. Wow, that's been a long time. I worked for Aubrey Lucas, the president. I was administrative assistant to him, and that's where I first met her. She was just sitting in a chair and being herself, and it ended with Dr. Lucas introducing us. And of course, you know, we were just elated because here was this little lady sitting in a chair donating $150,000 to our university. I guess some weeks later, the news had gone out all over, I guess all over the nation, you might say. And when the news went out, they talked about her, they had pictures, and I think she was on every channel, every major channel, NBC, ABC, CBS, you name it. And then Dr. Lucas got a request. I think one of the channels wanted her to come and talk with them and present herself and tell how she saved her money and why she gave it to the university. The big question was always, why did she give it to the University of Southern Mississippi? And so I was asked to go to be her travel companion, which was really a surprise and an honor for me. And it was supposed to be like just now and then, but it turned out to be multiple trips everywhere. And then she got her book, and then once she got Simple Wisdom, then she started traveling more. And from that point on, I traveled wherever she wanted to go, and just really learning all of the niceties, you know, about her was really rewarding to me. Her giving, why she gave, if she had more, she would give more. Coming to the university, and it changed her as well, because she was just a 5 feet tall lady, you know, just living on the earth in Hattiesburg, and decided that she wanted to give more, which was $150,000 to our university.
And traveling was new for her.
Traveling
Tell me
was
about
new.
some of those experiences.
Oh, wow. Traveling was new. She never wanted to fly. We went, I mean, oh my gosh, we went to a number of places. Several of her travels, like to New York, we went on a train. She was afraid of trains initially, but we went on a train. We ended up getting the last train that was going. It took us almost 3 days to get there because of all the little stops. And she had an opportunity to travel. This was the first time she had ever been out of the state of Mississippi. And so this was exciting for her. She would look at stuff in awe. I think probably one of the biggest trips we made was to Chicago. We went to see Oprah. We did the Oprah Winfrey, or she did the Oprah Winfrey show. I just tagged along. And I think what she did was, we were in the room where Oprah, you know, it was called the Green Room. And there Oprah came in later, bent down on her knees and talked to her and said, you know, I want to thank you for coming to my show and what have you. And before she did that, she said, do you know who I am? And she said, and I have to tell you, Jim, sometimes I mimic her, so I hope you don't mind. And she said, Miss McCarty, do you know who I am? And she said, yeah, you Oprah. And Oprah was thrilled about that. And after she talked to her for a while, she got up and she told her what she was going to be doing and the questions that she would be asking her when she got her on stage. I think she asked her maybe 3 or 4 questions. Oprah liked the fact that she came from Mississippi because she was a Mississippian, and that in and of itself was good. Getting aside from the trips, let me digress a little bit. We went to the store, and she was supposed to buy or get a mink coat. And the mink coat was the store's way of saying, we're glad you're from Mississippi, here it is, we're gonna let you borrow it. And in the process, we came back the next day, let's see, when we got ready to go to New York, we came back to get the coat. And the gentleman who managed the store apologized, and very apologetically he said, I can't let you have the coat because it'll be used, and there's no way that I can let you have the coat. And so I told Miss McCarty, I said, you know, we can't get the coat that you were going to take to New York because it's cold. I said, what do you suggest? And she said, well, how much is the coat? And we checked the coat, and the coat was more than $3,000. So I told her, I said, Ms. McCarty, let's find something else, because, and the reason she was going to be using the coat was because we were going to see the ball fall down in New Year's. And so, you know, it was just interesting the way she handled that. We went into the dressing room, and I said, Ms. McCarty, we're not going to buy a coat. Let's see if we can find something else. So her thing was, how much is the coat? And I told her. She said, oh, okay. And she went down in her bosom and started pulling out. She had money. She started just giving me what I want. Then she stopped and said, do you want a coat too? No, ma'am, I don't want a coat. And so she paid for the coat in cash. She was in a parade. She was the grand marshal. People made hats and gowns and things for her to wear. People were always in awe of her. And she went to Detroit, and she was in a parade there, and everybody wanted to hear her story. But when she came back to Hattiesburg, she would always revert back to being Miss McCarty, the sweet lady that lived over there on Miller Street. She would come to my house and spend the night. Sometimes we had early places to go. I remember one where we were going to Denver, Colorado. Well, once we got there, they seated us. They knew, of course, they knew who we were, but we were sitting on the edge about maybe 10 rows from the front when Hillary Clinton came on. She was their keynote speaker. And once Hillary got there and started speaking, two big tall men, about 6'3", 6'4", came up to us, and one said, "Are you Jewel Tucker?" I said, "Yes." "Is this Miss Oseola McCarty?" "Yes." "Then you're supposed to go with us because you're having dinner with the First Lady." And Miss McCarty said, "I didn't know that." I said, "I didn't either." So she had a ball. She learned, she spoke up for herself, but it did a lot for her. It did a lot for her. But the one thing that she taught me was to give. I give away everything. I give away everything and expect nothing because I can't carry it with me. But that was one of the biggest lessons in life that I learned, that, you know, you give and it'll be given back to you. She called me her daughter, and I was proud. Since I'm the oldest of 15 children, I was proud that she would call me. As a whole, if you look at it, she was amazing. She was amazing. She gave until she couldn't give anymore. And, you know, sometimes I wonder, why she went so soon, but, you know, that was God's way. But if you ask me about Oseola McCarty, I'm like you, I start smiling because I remember all the good stuff and, for the kids and for for families and different children at different schools around Hattiesburg and around Mississippi and other places. And just like the picture on the right of me now, she'd be sitting there smiling, you know, because she enjoyed people, but mostly enjoyed the babies. She would pick up a baby in a minute.
So finish this sentence for me.
Okay.
Oseola McCarty, Miss Oseola McCarty is what?
A blessing. She's a blessing. She is a blessing to a lot of people. Yeah, that's what I would say. To me, but to a lot of people as well. Yeah.
She certainly is.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me.
Thank you for inviting me. I hope I didn't talk your head off.
Absolutely not. Those are some wonderful stories about a wonderful woman.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I had the privilege of meeting Ms. McCarty shortly after the world learned of her remarkable gift to the University of Southern Mississippi. The year was 1995, and I presented her with the National Urban League's Community Heroes Award right here in New York City. Here was this petite, modest lady who led a quiet, frugal life in Hattiesburg, center stage in the grand ballroom at the New York Hilton in front of an audience of hundreds, their guest of honor. And she was thoroughly at ease, her infectious smile embracing everyone around her. And as I recall, she was especially pleased with the new dress she bought for the occasion. Ms. McCarty spoke softly that day, but her words had quite an impact on every single person in that room. Her story illustrated the enduring power of generosity, how making a gift to improve the lives of future generations makes the giver's life so much richer. And Ms. McCarty will always be among the richest of souls. 25 years later, she continues to be an inspiration, a true philanthropist, and a beautiful person. And I'll forever remember Ms. McCarty. And I am proud to share strong ties to USM with her and so many others.
Another USM staff member who assisted Ms. McCarty during her interviews was J.T. Kisda. Under the leadership of Blake Kirkpatrick and the Office of Public Relations, they coordinated everything from book signings, her carrying the Olympic torch, to visiting the White House, and to attending award ceremonies across the nation. J.T. will never forget the impact she made on his life or the simple conversations they shared from her front porch.
Well, I haven't been to this house in 22 years, and remembering how much time I spent at this house and sitting on this front porch with Ms. McCarty, just, it's kind of emotional. So I had just started graduate school at Southern Miss in communications, and I was working in the Office of Public Relations with Bud Kirkpatrick, and he's like, get in the car with me, we're going to ride over and I want you to visit with somebody. And we drove to this house and in its previous location, and we pulled up and I was like, I had no idea what was going on. And we sat with Ms. McCarty and talked to her for a little while. I guess he wanted her to be comfortable with me as much as anything. And I actually think Jewel Tucker was there that day as well. And we visited with her for about 30 minutes, and we got in the car to go back to the office, and Bud said, she's about to give a lot of money to this university, and she's giving it in a way that no one has ever done before. And we're already starting to get phone calls from people that want her on national level media, and she really did not understand what was about to happen. I don't think any of us did. And just, learning about her story and the humble nature of her giving, and through Paul Laughlin and his explaining to her, what exactly she had was, it was just an awesome story. And when it hit, it hit. So in our travels with Oseola, there was one particular trip that kind of stood out to me for multiple reasons. First we went to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania for the Essence Awards.
When I think of Miss Oseola McCarty and the wonderful things she's done in her lifetime, the words of this song come to mind. Yes, they do. Thank you, Miss McCarty. When a child's in need, oh, Oseola, then my living shall not, my living shall not be in vain.
And my jaw is on the ground because sitting at the table where she is sitting is Bill and Hillary Clinton, Jesse Jackson, Halle Berry, and David Justice. But they're all just kind of encircled her, and I'm going, this is like the world of politics and entertainment and sports megastars surrounding this little lady from Hattiesburg, Mississippi. And I tried to make her understand why people were so interested in her story, and to the day she died, I don't know if she really truly ever understood it. Miss McCarty, she didn't bat an eye. She's like, I just want kids to have the opportunity that I did not have. And I remember the first time we introduced Stephanie Bullock to Miss McCarty, and Miss McCarty just hugged her, and Stephanie hugged her back, and not a dry eye in the house, and what can you say? It was a person who never had an opportunity that gave somebody an opportunity. And we spent a lot of time on Miss McCarty's front porch because that was kind of her go-to place. And watching the kids go by every day back and forth to school at Hattiesburg High School, the funny thing is that now with this statue that we're honoring Miss McCarty with, she's going to watch students go every day back and forth across campus at Southern Miss. So, knowing that her legacy lives on, and the thing that she probably most enjoyed in life will happen forever now. That's so sweet and so loving and caring and thoughtful to her legacy. And for what she did for students and what she was treated to in her final years was a fitting end to a wonderful person, fitting into a wonderful life. I never would have done the things I did or saw the people that I saw or get to meet the people that I meet if it weren't for her. And, I pretty much owe my career to her, because I don't know if I would have stayed in public relations, but I certainly wouldn't have gone into philanthropy because I didn't even know what it was. And when you have someone like that makes such an impact on your life without even trying to, it's probably a pretty good person.
It is truly an honor to be with you to celebrate the incredible life and legacy of the incomparable Oseola McCarty. I bring heartfelt, warm greetings from my father, Ted Turner, who was so inspired by Oseola's generous spirit and the hard work that it took to give her nest egg that she had scrimped and saved her entire life to help others have a better life through the scholarships at University of Southern Mississippi. I remember my dad in 1997 talking about this incredible woman that had worked so hard and given so much that it inspired him to even be more generous in his philanthropy for the cause that he cared about the most notably the work of the United Nations. He then so inspired others of his peers and colleagues to be more generous in their philanthropy, including Warren Buffett and Bill Gates. And we know how that turned out. They started the Giving Pledge, and to date, there are 211 pledgers in 24 countries that have agreed to give half of their wealth away to make their communities and the world a better place. I remember my dad over and over saying that you don't have to be a billionaire to make a difference. You can be like Oseola, who gave what she had, and others can give of their time, talent, and treasure to make a difference. And that's what this is all about. So it was great being with you, and Warm greetings from the Turner family. Have an amazing evening, and don't forget, everybody can work to make the world a better place. Thank you.
I wish to thank the University of Southern Mississippi for the opportunity to comment on the wonderful life and accomplishments of Oseola McCarty. I've had the opportunity to work and learn from some outstanding leaders throughout my career. Although I've never had the privilege to meet Oseola in person, she stands out as an exemplary leader, and I'm blessed to know her through her deeds, her humility, her unselfishness, and the powerful legacy that she represents. I've had the opportunity to lead several foundations throughout my career. We emphasize the need to be strategic about philanthropic investments and to ensure that it would have positive and lasting impact. Oseola was doing this decades before philanthropy became more widespread, more popular, more disciplined. Oseola's work and legacy needs more attention now than ever. We need to learn from her and apply it to our work, our families, our communities, our lives, in whatever way we can. I will conclude with a quote from Oseola. Some people make a lot of noise about what's wrong with the world, and they're usually blaming somebody else. I think people who don't like the way things are need to look at themselves first. They need to get right with God and change their own ways. If everybody did that, we'd be all right.
In an effort to keep Ms. McCarty's story alive, the USM Foundation commissioned local sculptor Ben Watts for a very special project. His talents brought one of the most beloved photos of Miss McCarty to life, and you're going to want to make a trip to campus soon to see it for yourself.
About probably 3 years ago, I got a call from the USM Foundation saying the ladies wanted to meet with me about doing a sculpture. So I went and met with them, and I said, I brought my portfolio, and they said, oh, we don't need your portfolio, because they'd seen all my work and knew what I did. And I sat down and explained to them how the process worked, which is I make a small one, they approve it, they look at it and say, we get it right. And they said, we want Miss Oseola sitting in what they refer to as the Bible photograph, and where she's sitting in a chair, an outdoor chair with a big Bible in her hands, grinning, and behind her is a clothesline of clothing, and she's smiling. But if you look at that Bible, it's got the notches on the side that mark all the chapters, the 66 chapters in the Bible, so she could go to it quickly. And on the end, facing you is a tassel that you can mark in your Bible, so you can get to your verse quickly. That's where her generosity came from, was because of her faith and wanting to give back. And wow, to get to meet the president because of your generosity, but her generosity came from her faith. And that's something that's greatly to be admired from somebody that did what she did and gave so much and worked so hard. It had to be a great faith. But having that big Bible in her lap, I really enjoyed doing that. And I did it exactly like her Bible was. So that's pretty neat too. When I started looking at the photograph up close that USM had given me, I noticed that her hands were leathery. Really, her skin is leathery, and you really don't want to show that. But my assistant, Megan Sauls, who graduated from the art department at Southern, said, "No, look at her hands. They're washerwoman hands. They're working woman's hands, and that's her story. And so her hands are really her story." So we spent a lot of trouble doing those to get them to look like the photograph and to get them looking weathered, because when your hands are in water around an iron working with them, they just get leathery and tough and hard and gnarly and arthritic. And I think that's a really important part of that sculpture. Well, On most all my sculptures, there are secrets. And we have a secret on Miss Osceola, but if I tell you, you can't tell anybody, so it's a secret. But I was told by two people involved, one was her banker and one was the lady that took her around, that she kept her money in stacks like that. She would stack it up, and then she would take a piece of fabric and put it in this fabric and it was sewn up so it wouldn't, she couldn't use it. And when she got enough stacks, she would call her banker and they would make CDs, but she would carry that money like this, carried it right down here. She would carry it right in there. And if you look closely enough, you can see the outline of her money, which that's really, I think the Bible being in her lap is what she wants to be remembered by, but what we actually end up remembering her by is that pouch of money right here because of all the money she donated to USM. And so that secret is there, and now you can't tell anybody else because you know the secret. I think the photograph that we used and the smile that's big as Dallas is really shows her personality. And I have to study people's personality because if I don't, it just doesn't capture them. It doesn't make them look alive. She looks alive, which most of mine do, which is been given a gift, and that's what happens. She turned out very pretty, and she looks good sitting in her chair.
Thank you, Ben, for those words, your talents, and your amazing creation. That's going to live here in the heart of campus forever and ever. Now's the moment we're all been waiting for. People around the world have been touched by Miss McCarty's story, but none more than the people here in Hattiesburg and her scholarships recipients. These young people are living the full Southern Miss experience, and their gratitude is evident.
So, Kaylin, if you could say anything to Miss McCarty, what would it be?
I think I just have to keep saying thank you, because she just granted me with a really great gift. I get to go to school and I get to stay on campus and be a part of something bigger than myself. And I don't even think I'd be able to articulate how thankful I was. So I just keep saying thank you over and over again.
And Destiny?
I think I'd be the same way, just letting her know that her kind spirit has gave me the opportunity to better myself and become better in life, and just like Kaylin said, continue saying thank you, because it's unbelievable that that's real. Like, she actually did that. She was actually generous enough to give her life savings to kids that she didn't even know.
Just because you didn't have it doesn't mean that you can't help somebody else. I think that's the main thing I think of whenever I think of her.
What do you think Miss Osceola would say, seeing you two?
If she was in a room with all of us, she'd just light up with joy, and she'd probably want to hug all of us too, and just be proud to know that we're furthering her legacy and that we're going to do great things in life.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today, and congratulations on being a scholarship recipient and carrying on Miss Osceola's legacy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
25 years after Miss McCarty's gift, her generosity continues to benefit Southern Miss students and inspire many, many other people. And staff at the USM Foundation continue to steward her donation and those of many others. Here's Stacy Mercier, Executive Director of the USM Foundation.
There is no other gift to USM as well known as Miss McCarty's. In fact, it inspired over 800 people from across the country to contribute to her scholarship. What is perhaps not as well known is the lasting impact it has made. By creating an endowment, Miss McCarty ensured that her gift would continue to support generations of students. Well beyond her lifetime and ours, her gift will continue to provide the gift of education. The Oseola McCarty Scholars Program honors her strong work ethic, giving heart, and love for helping others. McCarty Scholars participate in activities that promote financial literacy, research, career planning, and community involvement. Eligible students are those who have graduated from a public school in Hattiesburg or South Mississippi area, who have financial need, and who are from underrepresented populations. I am so pleased to share that to date, 113 students have received scholarships totaling $570,000. These students have become dentists, nurse practitioners, entrepreneurs, doctors, teachers, and chemists. They have gone on to serve our country by joining the military, and others are working right here at the University of Southern Mississippi. We heard Paul Laughlin say that it was Miss McCarty's wish that the scholarship would reach $1 million. With a corpus of $630,000, we need to raise an additional $370,000 to reach that goal. When we do, 20 students will receive $2,000 annually. I can only imagine Miss McCarty's joy in knowing how many students will benefit from the education she never had the opportunity to receive. Won't you join me and others who have made a gift to help make Miss McCarty's dream a reality?